Hi, I'm Rabbi Shari Shamah. Welcome to this week's Moment of Torah. This Torah portion, Bahar, Bechukotai, is a wonderful Torah portion that talks about appreciating the earth. But I must confess to everyone out there in Torah land, this week's Torah portion was my bat mitzvah Torah portion, and as a 13-year-old girl, I really didn't find much that was compelling about it. I talked about a very famous verse that's contained in this Torah portion. The verse that is inscribed in the Liberty Bell, that you should proclaim release throughout the land for all its inhabitants. That was what I connected to. But now as an adult, and as someone who has come to understand just how important the food we eat is to our bodies, and to exercise and how that plays a part in our lives as to rest as well, I've come to understand that this week's Torah portion can teach us quite a few lessons. And here's how. We have the idea of Shabbat in Judaism, that for 6 days we should work really, really hard, and on the 7th day we should rest. Well, the same concept, the Shabbat, is also a sabbatical, and that's the concept stressed in this week's Torah portion. We are taught that for 6 years we should work the land. We should till, we should sow, we should reap the benefits, and we are going to eat them, that God is providing. But then, we are taught that if you follow the commandments, that in the 7th year, go against your inclination to work the land. Don't. You can eat the produce of the land automatically develops, but you can't do anything to cultivate it. You just have to have faith that God's going to provide. And there's a verse in this Torah portion that I think is wonderful. And the Torah says, and should you ask, what are we to eat in the 7th year if we should no longer sow into the soil? The Torah teaches that in the 6th year we are going to have a bountiful harvest, enough to last us for 3 years. The 6th year, the 7th, the sabbatical year when you can't do anything, and the 8th year still will have that bounty. We have to have faith that just by taking this rest, that God is going to provide. It's the same idea for Shabbat, when you have a double portion of manna on the 6th day to last through Shabbat. This idea of taking a break, a sabbatical, I think is one that applies not only to the earth, but it applies to our life as well. We push ourselves so much. You know, it's hard, it takes courage, just like it takes courage not to work the land, to not work on Shabbat, to not run the errands, to not do the cleaning, to not do all the stuff, the mundane stuff we have to get done. So too with exercise. When you have that inclination to run or to work out, you want to keep going. Oh no, if I don't work out every day of the week, oh no, what am I going to do? Your body needs that day of rest. Athletes will tell you that you actually are going to be stronger when you take a day of rest than when you work yourself. So too for the land. Farmers will tell you that by taking a sabbatical, you get rid of some of the sodium level inherent in the earth. So how can I, as an adult, relate to this Torah portion? It reminds me that I have to have courage to make a change, to say I can trust that God's going to provide, I can trust that I can take a day off, that I can take a day of rest, that I can take care of my body, and that's okay. So whether or not you garden, and right here in our beautiful Jewish community garden, we have some wonderful gardening to be done. Whether or not you garden, whether or not you work out, we all need to take that sabbatical, that time to rest and re-energize. And that's my moment of Torah. Have a wonderful week.